Welcome to this course on sales techniques. Over the next few lessons, our expert will show you why many people view sales incorrectly and the right way to view sales so it's no longer something to be feared. Let's begin.
Have you ever seen the film Wolf of Wall Street? There's a famous scene in the film where Jordan Belfort is sitting with some friends in a diner. He asks his friends to sell him a pen. In the film, Belfort's friend asks him to write down his name. Belfort, played by Leonardo Dicaprio, responds he doesn't have the pen. His friend says exactly, supply and demand. The only problem is, this is a completely wrong view of sales techniques. In fact, most people are scared of sales because they tend to picture someone sleazy, like a used car salesman who is trying to unload a piece of junk that barely runs and pretends that's the best car on the lot. This is just as wrong as the scene in the movie. You see, most people think sales means trying to play dirty and trick someone into getting something they don't need or want. That's a terrible method of doing sales, and will result in you starving to death if you rely on sales for your living. There is a better way, a smarter way. It starts with forgetting about sales completely and instead focusing on problem solving. Follow along as we debunk the old, outdated concept of sales and show you why you have nothing to be scared about, and indeed something to be excited about when it comes to sales. Anyone can do it. And if you tend to have a giving nature as opposed to a selfless nature, you're more likely to be better at sales. If that sounds like a contradiction, don't worry. It will all become clear over the rest of this course.
In this lesson, our expert will share what sales are really all about and why having a giving nature is a good thing from a sales perspective.
Forget everything you knew about sales techniques. For example, the old adage that sales are all about supply and demand is a very simplistic way of looking at things. Instead, you should be thinking of sales as a way to solve someone's problems. What does that mean? At its core, sales is not about taking, as some politicians would have us believe today. It's actually about giving. Let's look at an example. John is a typical father of 2.5 children and wants to give his kids a better life. He currently lives in Topeka, Kansas, and has just been offered a brand new job in Fayetteville, Arkansas. John now has a problem. He has a house filled with nice furniture in Topeka. He doesn't want to give it all up when he moves his family across the country to Arkansas. John now has a problem. Enter Eric, a salesman for a moving company. Now Eric doesn't know John very well, but he does know the business of moving. He understands all the ins and outs and what's involved in moving across the country. He knows what needs to be professionally packed to survive a cross-country move, and what can likely be packed by John and his family. Eric speaks with John and tells him all about the furniture and other things he'd like to take with him to Arkansas. Eric gives John a price and breaks down what it will cost to move each item across the country. What just happened? Did Eric try to trick John? Did he take something? One could argue that he did. He is, after all, taking money from John. John could, in theory, also decide to rent a U-Haul truck and move everything himself. But Eric has provided his breadth of knowledge and experience to suggest an alternative. Granted, it does cost more, but Eric is helping John to solve his problem, how to safely get his possessions from Kansas to Arkansas. That is what sales are really all about, solving a problem. The old saying is that if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. Well, not exactly, but if you do have a better mousetrap and people find out about it, they'll happily pay you for the privilege of using it and thank you for letting them buy it. Let's take this further. Let's see if we can apply this concept to pretty much anything you may want to sell. For example, let's say that you sell flowers. What problem do you solve? Well, maybe you solve the problem that the person needs to be able to tell his wife that he's sorry for the fight they had. Or maybe she wants to say how sorry she is to hear that someone passed. Extrapolate this and you can literally apply this to anyone and anything. Ultimately, when you look at sales as solving someone's problem, then you're going to be better at sales, and you'll even be able to feel great about it because you're offering to help people with something they actually need. In the next module, we're going to talk about specific methods for creating the need and the right way to do the sell me this pen bit.
In this final lesson, our expert will show you some specific sales techniques and explain why solving emotional problems as opposed to practical ones is the very best way to do sales.
In the previous lesson, we discussed the fact that sales is all about solving problems. Now that said, ultimately, it is your job as a salesperson to make a sale. How can you do that? Well, the easiest way is to solve emotional problems as opposed to practical problems. What's the difference? It's the difference between a commodity and an offer. A commodity refers to any product which is pretty much the same regardless of where you buy it from. Consider 2-ply toilet paper, for example. While some brands may try to differentiate themselves by offering extras such as scented toilet paper or toilet paper with aloe vera, by and large, one brand of 2-ply toilet paper will largely be the same as another brand. The result is that many people do not feel a need to be loyal to a particular brand of toilet paper. They simply buy whatever happens to be on sale at the local supermarket, as opposed to seeking out a particular brand name. The reason is simple. Toilet paper on its own solves a practical problem. You need to have a way to take care of business when using the restroom, and so you buy it. You probably don't spend much time thinking about your choice of toilet paper. The same can be said for a variety of other products which are largely the same, regardless of who you buy it from. Gasoline, for example. If you don't have a loyalty program card, it is largely the same regardless of who you buy it from. These kinds of companies try to differentiate themselves by using offers and branding to make themselves look unique. Just like Don Draper says in Mad Men, they take a common trait and try to make it sound unique. That's why I suggest the idea of saying it's toasted when trying to sell cigarettes, which are pretty much the same as everyone else's cigarettes. A better way to do sales is to solve emotional needs as opposed to practical ones. To understand this, let's go back to the sell me this pen discussion we had in the first lesson. The real Jordan Belfort was once asked how he would answer the famous sell me this pen question. He said that in order to properly sell a pen, you need to back up and gather some information. It's not enough to show people why the pen is a great pen, nor would it necessarily work to use the law of supply and demand. After all, someone could just as easily buy a pen elsewhere. Belfort suggests that in order to really make this work, you should consider instead asking probing questions. How long have you been in the market for a pen? What kind of things do you do with a pen? As an example, consider that you are selling this pen to an executive who runs a large business. This executive could just as easily grab an ordinary ballpoint pen to sign important documents. This would be the same as trying to sell them toilet paper or gasoline. However, if you can solve an emotional problem, then you can sell something at a higher cost. Ask the executive in question what kind of documents he or she usually signs on a daily basis. Ask what kind of pen they've used in the past and how it made them feel to sign the document using that pen. You can then appeal to their emotional need. Most people want to feel important. It's a natural human instinct. You can then say to that person, well, let me ask you, when you sign important documents, would you rather sign them with a cheap, ordinary pen which anyone could buy for 10 cents? Or would you prefer to sign them with a pen that truly warrants the occasion? This pen is a high-end pen, and will properly fit the occasion of signing important documents which you have to sign every day. In other words, you are not selling a commodity anymore. You are now tailoring your pitch to that particular person that you are dealing with. Let's consider the person selling flowers. Someone could always pick up flowers from the local gas station. However, when selling them flowers, a good florist will ask what the occasion is. Why? Because they know that certain kinds of flowers will better fit specific occasions. It also happens that people prefer to buy from the florist because they want to get expert advice. They are happy to pay extra because they know the florist is going to give them just the right bouquet and the best, freshest flowers so they will get the results they want. But what if you are in fact selling a commodity? What if you don't have anything to differentiate yourself? In that case, you need to find a way to do so. One example, of course, is the It's Toasted method. Find something that people may not know about your product and then highlight that as a special thing, even though it is perfectly ordinary in your industry. You can also try to appeal to people's emotions in a different way. For example, you may try a humorous approach. Take our example of toilet paper. It's a commodity, but Charmin has found a way to stand out from the crowd using humor. They started pushing a hashtag on Twitter called Tweet from the Seat. They poke fun at themselves in order to make themselves stand out and be memorable to their customers. Finally, you could consider being surprising. A good example of this is the old Casio commercials, where they had a huge gorilla showing up on set. What did a gorilla have to do with Casio products? Simple. They said that even an 800-pound gorilla couldn't damage their watches. It was memorable and made them seem unique because it surprised people. They didn't expect a commercial for a watch to feature a giant gorilla. The bottom line in all these cases is that these brands appeal to emotional needs instead of practical needs. They give people a feeling of being unique, whether it's because they appeal to vanity or need to laugh or even the need to break out of the usual malaise. When you do this, you'll find that sales are not only easy, but even fun.